I'd like to bring the City of Pittsburgh's Commission meeting to order. Please join me in a flag salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll open it up for public input. Pete, are you here to get us started?
I am.
Great.
Thank you. Let us pray. Gracious God, hear our prayer. We give you thanks for all the gifts you have shared. Such a pleasant city we have. Help us also to build true community and fellowship. We ask your blessing on our city, on all who dwell here, on all who visit here, and on this meeting. May your wisdom be shared for our common good. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak for public input? Seeing none, I close public input. Open up consent agenda. Are there any items anyone wants to take it off? I'm taking off item C, as in chicken. Okay, roll call vote?
I'd vote to,
Oh, I'm sorry.
make a motion to
Vote
approve.
To approve.
Second.
I always forget that. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Chenoweth? Aye. McNally?
Aye.
McNay? Aye. Munson?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye. Item C, approval of fire department staff request to purchase 11 sets of bunker gear from Conrad Fire Equipment of Olathe, Kansas in the amount of $25,863.86. And I'm not sure I have the question for you, Chief, but for our council. When we give this, or I suppose we're donating this to someone else, like the used equipment?
No,
Oh,
we do
okay.
not. Yeah, no, we do not.
We usually have equipment that phases out time-wise.
Right, this was part of the public safety sales tax, and what we decided to do was, early on, was to buy 7 sets a year. So, because the gear has an end of life of 5 years, so then in 5 years, right now we're in year 6. We start that process over again, so the guys are always in gear that is rated. The extra gear that would be their old gear, we do keep that, and it becomes their spare gear. And it is used only for example, we will use it for training if we need to. And it's hard to explain, but if you have a fire in the middle of the night, you are cold, wet, soaked, and that spare gear is what they would be in the rest of that evening while the gear is getting washed and dried for the next shift.
Okay.
So that's how that works.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I move to approve item C.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Special presentations. 23rd Street Bike Park Report. Eagle Scout Ethan Lomchak from Troop 81 in Pittsburgh will present details on the 23rd Street Bike Park cleanup and renovation project. Ethan.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. 10 years ago, nearly 75 citizens worked to turn the 23rd Street dump into the 23rd Street Bike Park. Roger Lomchek was one of the volunteers who assisted in this accomplishment. The then 8-year-old Ethan Lomchek was at the July 31st, 2009 ribbon cutting and one of the first cyclists on the trails, and he made it into the morning sun on that day. It was no surprise when Ethan needed an Eagle Scout project that he chose the 23rd Street Bike Park, which was near and dear to him. Ethan started the 23rd Street Bike Park cleanup project in the fall of 2018, and even though his work is completed, the volunteers that he helped coordinate are still working hard to improve the conditions of the park. So at this time, I'd like to have Ethan and Roger come up and talk about the accomplishments that they've done.
So, I'm Ethan Lomchek. As she said, 23rd Street Bike Park has always been close to me. As you can see in this picture, this is one of the first days that it was open. Getting some air off one of the jumps. One of my second bike, I believe. That was when I was 8 years old. Since then, I've always loved to go there, and whenever I can, have time with my family out there.
Looks like your eyes are all the way open.
Yep. This is one of the first trails this is actually the first trail that we started cutting on. This is Bob Dickens, one of our friends that used to work at the bike shop. This is him standing in front of the westmost trail that runs along the west side and goes up all the way around north. This is the before picture of what it looked like. Here's right after we had cut it. That first picture, that was right in the middle of the picture, that was the trail. And so this is him using a hedge trimmer to be able to cut down those smaller brambles and get through. This is after we finished cutting it and before picking up all the brambles off the ground from the trail and making sure, before we were able to clear the dirt off. This is after we'd started to clear the brambles, and this is some of the community volunteers, Deborah Anthony on the right and Justin Brown in the back in the gray shirt, showing that we have lots of community support for this. This is after we were finished with that trail part. Justin and his son had cleared out that big section. That was all tree limbs that were about 3 inches thick, just covering the trail completely where there was no access through it at all. This is where we're nearly done with the trail. We were cutting an access port down the side of the mountain, or down the side of the hill, to allow wind to come through and make it a much more enjoyable place, so that there aren't groups of bugs and mosquitoes just sitting on the trail waiting for you.
Did it work?
Yes, it did.
So as we keep going through here, this is the finished trail of that one. The problem had been that in the intervening 10 years, the trails had become overgrown, a number of them, and needed to be kind of seriously cleaned out to be usable at all. And that's what Ethan's project was to start with. Rolling on through some of these, you can see this is the front entrance where Ethan and another Eagle Scout, Noah Baldwin, were working on from the parking lot, and that's after they're done. They cleaned it out significantly. A lot of the stuff was poison ivy and thorn bushes and just all kinds of grown up, tangled together stuff that just had to be cut out and pulled out by hand. I think his project total was about 240 hours of work, and we had over 20 volunteers on his project doing that. There were a number of other trails that were similarly overgrown like this one. You could barely get through, and created another problem. You couldn't see through it, and you couldn't see what was coming over the trail. And so slowly we got it dug out, cleared it out to that, and then said, you know what, let's keep going. And so the scouts dug her out here, dug through this stuff, this wall of shrubbery, until you could literally see through to the parking area a few hundred yards back, so that it's a little safer for people to use, more welcoming, and as Ethan said, more comfortable because the wind can actually blow through the park. Riddell Construction then, later on, once Ethan's project was over, Steve Riddell offered to help out and donated more than a week of equipment time and operators to help us pull out stumps, get into some heavier brush and clear it out, and begin doing some dirt work so that we can make it a little bit safer for lots of users. Once Ethan's project was over, it was pretty obvious we're getting a lot more use, and so things are going to get a little bit conflicted with too many people on the trail at once. And so now we're working towards clearing out the trail and making multiple options. So we have a fast bermed option like this section that I was test riding there, and this little catwalk which the orange lines designate for people to come zooming down the hill. To the left of that we have a walking trail that's separate, so that somebody's out there walking with their kids, they're not necessarily risking life and limb to walk up a blind uphill and get creamed by somebody coming around the corner. We then also spent quite a bit of time with shovels and hand tools, chipping out the berm, shaping things with dirt, and we've got a ways to go with that. But it's just something that the volunteers are going to keep on clearing out and improving and making it a little bit better of a park. Someday, we hope to make this thing a tourist attraction. Northwest Arkansas has put a lot of money into their bicycle trails and bike parks, and that's what they see every year in revenue and visitorship from their bicycle parks. The 23rd Street thing has a potential to be like one of those. It's never gonna be something this size, but something that'll be, you know, maybe a few years from now, a significant draw for some tourism and some revenue coming in from out of the area. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Congratulations,
Thank
Ethan.
you.
Yeah.
Well, I applaud you all for all the work that you put into this. I know it's these are the kind of public support projects that make Pittsburgh such a wonderful place to live. And they really enhance the livability of our community. And it shows great spirit that you all took into this. Thank you.
What's
Yeah,
the
thank
best
you
way
very
the
much.
city of Pittsburgh can support this right now?
There, Kim and the whole Parks and Rec team has been doing a great job helping us with anything they can. They're obviously pretty taxed this time of year with everything else they have going on. But they're doing a great job helping us. I'm sure as things cool down for them in the fall, when we start ramping up our stuff, we'll work together quite a bit.
They'll start doing some more cleanup days in the fall, and we'll help them get those posted on when they do those organized cleanup days, which will be helpful to have more citizens out to help.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great work. Thank you, Ethan. Item B, 2020 budget. Consider the 2020 budget for adoption. Public hearing is scheduled for August 13th as prescribed by law to be held in the City Commission Room located in the Law Enforcement Center at 201 North Pine at 5:30 p.m. for the purpose of hearing and answering questions relating to the 2020 budget. Yes,
Good evening,
Jimmy?
Commissioners, Mayor. At last meeting, we presented the city manager's 2020 submitted budget 2 weeks ago for you guys to review and ask questions. And so tonight, we're here to answer questions that you might have. And at the end of a discussion, we need to have an agreement that we need to lock the budget down so I can put a public hearing notice in the newspaper so that can be formally adopted after the public hearing at the August 13th meeting.
Well, seeing as we've gone over this budget before, all of my questions have previously been answered, Jamie.
Okay.
I would like to add on that, Jamie, you've been available, and Darren, and numerous meetings and on our working day, and I just wanted to thank you guys for making yourselves available and putting in all that time. And it seems like year after year, this thing just kind of keeps putting a little bit more in, and I'm happy with what I see in this today. So.
Yeah, I'll echo that too. Asked a lot of questions in the last couple of weeks about this, had them all answered. And I think the big thing that I wanted when we first started talking about the budget was some money to get some sidewalk active transportation projects taken care of. And we didn't put that in the budget, but they all just got done. So through grants or through other opportunities. So I was really happy about that. And I just really encourage everybody at home to check this out. If you have questions, come to the meeting, or if you have questions, you know, send one of us a message, because maybe it's a question that we hadn't thought about asking before. So it's really important that the public has their input on this.
I do have a couple questions that I know the answers to, but I think it's important to ask them in open meeting. So one of them is, could you walk us through the calculations and the data source to quantify the revenue and with the incentive districts, how those are factored in or factored out?
Are you talking like the neighborhood revitalization and TIF and RID, those
Yeah,
type of things?
all those.
Okay. We get a valuation notice from the county clerk's office, which is generated from the county appraiser, work they do up for the first 6 months of each year. And we get that like by the 15th of June. And that valuation is for the city limits, corporate boundaries of Pittsburgh, all the value of property within that corporate city limits. But there are certain things that are extracted out of that valuation. Like we have a neighborhood revitalization program, which is an incentive for neighborhoods to be revitalized, where they'll get a tax a rebate for improvements they've made on their property. We have the TIF district, which is the, in the north shopping district area of Pittsburgh, along 29th Street and west of Broadway up to Aldi's. Doesn't include Aldi's. It's like from Buffalo Wild Wings down to Jimmy's Egg and Home Depot. That area is the TIF district. And that was an incentive where the increased value over what was previously in this area, the increase in value for all that new shopping area that went in, the property taxes on that increased value goes to a separate a trust account to pay for the bonds that the developer issued, to pay for the improvements there, to get that up and running. So that comes off your overall tax valuation, so to speak. And then we also have a new one that just started called the RID, a Rural Housing Incentive Development Program. And that is similar to a TIF, only it's a little bit different. It's for housing. And that's where if a developer comes in and takes a vacant field and builds houses or whatever, the increase in value of those homes, the taxes on that gets separated from the regular taxes, and then it is held, and that goes back to the developer to pay for his infrastructure costs, his or hers infrastructure costs for streets, sewers, water lines, those types of things. Does that make sense?
Yes. So I guess what drove this question for me was where, when I should have known that it's the county that assesses the valuation.
Yeah.
And then there's a baseline that we know, and that difference is put in this trust. Okay.
Approximately, like the overall valuation, this is estimated at this point. The county does a final lockdown on valuation numbers in October, because there still may be some adjustments due to exemptions that come in or get granted by the state of Kansas or whatever. The estimated valuation is $138 million for Pittsburgh for the 2019, which supports the 2020 budget. Now, we actually back off about $3 million for these incentive districts for TIF, the RID, and the neighborhood revitalization. So that brings the valuation down to $135 million, and that's what the tax rate is based upon. The mill times that valuation divided by 1,000 is the tax dollars generated.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Well, I have a couple. Do you have any?
No, I don't have any
Oh,
questions.
all right, well, I just have two more. I just want to confirm for everyone that right now there's no new bonds planned for
No,
2020. And should we have a new or existing industry that falls in our lap that needs infrastructure? What's our capacity?
Well, we've always got industrial revenue bonds to offer, which that is no liability to the city,
Okay.
but it's an incentive for the manufacturer or whatever to come in and do and either start from scratch or do an expansion. Currently, historically, we try to plan our projects so we can plan our debt, so we kind of stay on a level playing ground, so the taxes for debt stays about the same every year. And we've been issuing debt about every 2 years, 2 to 3 years. We just had a bond issue in January of 2019 of this year for 4 different projects. And I don't anticipate, knowing what I know now, issuing any more debt or bonds until 2021 for planned projects. We've got a CIP, a 5-year capital improvements plan that's got lots and lots of needed projects, but we have to try to pick the ones that are needed most at that particular point in time.
But as soon as Jamie retires, it's on. Yeah.
Well, and just, you know, I didn't really appreciate last year, the performance metrics that are in this document. That really tells, an excellent story of the activity in our city. And, you know, you look at the numbers and the estimates and the actuals and go back to, you know, the number of staff we have, we really do, accomplish a lot with a pretty lean staff. So that was, very, I appreciate that document. It's really valuable. So, okay, okay.
Any action that we need to take?
What I'm asking, or what me and Darren are asking is that you give us the green light to accept it as submitted,
Okay.
and I'll, me and my staff will get the notice put in the newspaper. And once we publish that, it can't go no higher than that, but it can always be dropped
Okay.
at that point in time.
Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And really, we do appreciate all the hard work and information that goes into this budget preparation. I know it's a extremely time-consuming thing, but it's really it's important for the city.
And this is on the city's website as well. For the public wants to take a look at it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Good job, James.
Consider the following: disposition of bids, East Centennial Street and South Rouse Street traffic modification project. Bids will be received on Friday, July the 19th, 2019 for the modification of the traffic signals at the intersection of East Centennial Street and South Rouse Street. After reviewing the bids received, city staff will provide a verbal recommendation to the commission for the award of the project. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Up there, left a copy of the bid tab. We received 2 bids in, one from Phillips Southern Electrical out of Wichita, the other one from CDL out of Pittsburgh. CDL was the low bid, and we recommend going ahead and awarding that work to CDL in the amount of $82,685.70. And I will just give you just a quick view of what is going to be going on there. What we're looking at here is the intersection of Centennial and Rouse. The neighborhood Walmart's on your upper left-hand side, so north is top of the page. Currently, right now on the north leg, there's 2 lanes northbound, 2 lanes southbound. What we're going to try and do to help try and alleviate the confusion and also get traffic through that intersection better is to turn that into 3 lanes southbound and 1 lane northbound. So this way we'll have a dedicated left turn lane, a dedicated through lane, and a dedicated right turn lane. So now folks won't have to try and guess which one goes through. It'll be the center one. There will be additional signage leading up to that, and obviously we would put out a public awareness campaign to make sure that everyone knows about it well in advance.
Can you say that again? Explain it again one more
Okay.
time.
If you're southbound there, you're driving by the Walmart headed towards Centennial. Right now there's only the 2 lanes. It will change to 3 lanes. The right lane will be a dedicated right-hand turn lane, so you can turn west onto Centennial. The center lane will be a through lanes only, so that would continue on to South Rouse, south of Centennial. And then your left lane would be left turn only, and that would turn you east, and Centennial bring you across the front of the hospital on Centennial.
We basically have four lanes at this point in time. We're taking it down to 2 in each direction.
Right.
And we're taking it down to 1 headed north and 3 south.
Correct. And as part of that, we'll have some other improvements that obviously everything will have to be restriped. If you're headed north on South Rouse, it's currently under construction there. There'll only be 2 lanes at that intersection. One will be a dedicated left turn lane. So that'll kind of keep you in frame of mind with that bi-directional turn lane all the way through there. Get up to the intersection, it's the same thing. If you want to turn left, you get over into that lane. If you want to go straight or to the right, you'd stay on the right hand side there. And so they would have that left turn dedicated there. And a benefit with this too is right now, you can kind of, if you have someone there trying to make a left-hand turn, if you're going north, someone coming around, the side view can't really be seen by that southbound traffic. This being split out, the turn lanes will be offset just a little bit, so you actually be able to see past the folks trying to turn to get a better view down the road to see any vehicles that are coming through straight.
That's correct.
So that will also be an added benefit with this alignment. As part of the work though, we will have to move the pole on the southwest corner there by medical lodges. That mast arm is as long as it can reach. And so obviously for adding another lane there, we want to have the traffic signal hit right in front of them so they can see it. So we're going to move that signal, that post, to the southeast. Just kind of rotate around the radius there. So while we're doing that, was the contractor come in there, pour the base, have it cured out, and be ready to move the pole. So it'll probably be 2 to 3 days as they take down the existing pole and put it up on the new foundation, that intersection will be a 4-way stop.
Okay, now this time I need a little clarification. Headed south, we're having 3 lanes.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Not 4.
Right, got it.
As we head north on Rouse, will it eventually go back to 2?
Yes. What'll happen there is once you get up by that Walmart entrance, it'll widen out and we'll actually have a left turn lane, if you will, to try and get folks into Walmart, have everyone else continue north there. That'll also help anyone trying to get out of Walmart turning north and know if they're in that lane right away, they're trying to turn in, so it should help get them out if they're turning north as well.
Do you plan on painting any bike emblems like on Broadway?
We're not on Broadway with this project, you mean on
No,
Rouse?
but
Like
she
you
was-
did.
Bike on Broadway, I'm
on
sorry.
Broadway.
Yeah. Those look really great, by the way.
We don't have any at this point in time. Like I say, with having the 3 different turn lanes there, you basically have to go in and join your lane, so it wouldn't be very effective there, because if you paint them on the outside lane, they don't be protected for right-hand turn.
Is a trail for bikes that will be put in there, a 10-foot trail?
Bikes can be
Okay.
ridden on that trail, yes.
What's the funding source for this?
Coming out of the South Rouse project funds.
Okay.
Commissioner, I think there's probably not a need for Sharrows because there's actually a trail on Rouse. Broadway is a little bit different, but I think
Yeah, we'll have
both sides, you probably,
there's a designated trail, I think, going each direction out of this intersection as well. So we do have that chance to get separation out of the traffic there. But if they do end up riding in the roadway there, I think, try and dedicate Sharrows as only being the 1 lane, I think would add more confusion than solve.
Okay, thank you. We're looking for an approval.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second. CDL.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the bid from CDL for the East Centennial Rouse modification. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you.
Good job, Cameron.
Non-agenda reports and requests. I have one item. I would like to thank everyone who participated in the land use discussion this past week. It's important for the city to be able to plan, think about where we want to be, and I appreciate the number of people that showed up at the different meetings. Anything else?
yeah,
Mitch?
Britton, I think that was Britton's project. I wouldn't want to, Jay's shaking his head no.
Yeah.
And Sarah's shaking her head yes. So Britton is not here, but it was her project. Yeah, I think the turnout there speaks for itself. It's not often you have that opportunity. I don't think where you can really get in. I mean, I was amazed at how many actual boards they had. I mean, it just kept going. It was like a museum exhibit, but it was extremely useful. And you know, I think the important thing is, let's make sure when we get the outcome, let's get it in here and talk about what it meant and let people know that they were listened to.
Right. Anything else?
I just want to say that Broadway does look great, that paving. Thanks everybody who did that, and thanks everybody for being patient while we did that.
Yeah, I think we got the bill for that. And I think it was $940,000 that we spent in about 2 weeks.
Is that it?
So the
Goes
good news
fast.
is, the good news is it wasn't all the money that we have, so other paving will go on. But I know it was a frustrating spring. It was so wet, people were wondering when something was gonna happen on the roads. And between that and the pour that they put on South Rouse and the pour they're supposed to put on South Rouse by Wednesday of next week, and then obviously a lot of the side roads are getting knocked out. You can tell that, you know, when hot weather's here and it's dry, we have a lot of money for sales tax, from the sales tax for street improvements. We appreciate it, and that's what it looks like, and that's the difference it can make, so.
Well, I think that Broadway project went through lickety-split. I mean, it was fast.
Yeah, the South Rouse contractors probably weren't looking north.
Hello? I said Broadway.
Cloud of dust going on. I do have a couple of things.
Okay.
The league has acknowledged, somehow we won an award for Inspire, Create, Innovate Community Award from the league this year that'll be awarded at the annual conference for
Now, this is the Kansas League of Municipalities.
This is the Kansas League of Municipalities, and I don't think it had anything to do with me being on their board. But
About president of the board.
maybe the president had something to do with it. But
Maybe it
anyway,
was
it's a big
inspired.
deal for the Pittsburgh Weir City Zinc Works and North Walnut Street project. The governor was in town for that ribbon cutting. So please, if you you're all going to be there, so please make sure that you. I think that's over one of the luncheon days. So make sure you get in the room and clap loudly. And thanks for everybody for making that happen. And finally, we don't usually talk about these, but I want to make sure we know the difference between mediocre and really good. The Newsies play, which was the community theater put on, had 2,562 attendees, and basically the response was overwhelming. Chris Patterson, who she's usually hiding behind that corner, is managing that facility, but I think that's quite a number, and I wanted to acknowledge that. You know, the quality of that and the fact that you get 2,560 people in there enjoying themselves. That's what that facility's for, and that's why it's important that we have it and we take care of it. So, great job, Chris, and that's all I've got.
That's where some of your tax dollars are working.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
I move to adjourn.
We have a move to adjourn, second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you all. Thank you.